Hi guys, I'm Dr. Monisha. Welcome to One Question at a Time series. We'll move on to the third episode, third question. The third question is sensory supply to the tongue. The sensory supply to the tongue is by all except. Okay, it is asked except. Okay, so whether it is lingual nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, vagus nerve, or it is none of the above. We'll see something about the tongue. The tongue itself has a motor supply for its muscles, sensory supply for its sensation, and for special sensation, the taste, it has a supply. Okay, special sensation, which is the taste. Okay, it has a special sensory supply. So we'll be discussing a little bit about that. So this is a tongue. Briefly, we have the anterior 2/3 of the tongue, okay, and posterior 1/3 of the tongue, and the posterior most part of the tongue. So regarding the motor supply, okay, we have intrinsic and extrinsic group of muscles. For the intrinsic group, we have 4 muscles, and for the extrinsic group, we have another 4 muscles. All the muscles are supplied by hypoglossal nerve, that is the 12th nerve, 12th cranial nerve. Okay, that is the 12th cranial nerve, except for the palatoglossus, which is supplied by cranial root of accessory nerve, that is the 11th nerve. Okay, except for its palatoglossus, which is supplied by the cranial root of accessory nerve, that is the 11th nerve, via the vagus nerve. We'll not go in detail regarding that. Just remember, all the muscles are supplied by the 12th nerve, except for palatoglossus, which is supplied by the cranial root of accessory nerve. Okay, now regarding the sensory supply, regarding the general sensation, the anterior 2/3 of the tongue, the general sensation is carried by the lingual nerve. As we saw yesterday, lingual nerve is a branch of mandibular nerve, okay, which is a branch of posterior division of mandibular nerve, to be more specific. Just to remember, lingual nerve carries the general sensations from the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. Okay, for the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, the general sensation is carried by the glossopharyngeal nerve, and for the posterior most part of the tongue, which is colored in blue here, the general sensation is carried by the internal laryngeal nerve, which is a branch of superior laryngeal nerve, which is internal branch of vagus nerve. So just remember vagus nerve, or to be more specific, it is the internal laryngeal nerve. So regarding the motor supply, it is by the hypoglossal nerve, except for the palatoglossus, which is by the cranial root of accessory nerve, that is the 11th part of the 11th nerve. And regarding the general sensation, the anterior 2/3 is by the lingual nerve, the posterior 1/3 is by the glossopharyngeal nerve, the 9th nerve, and the posterior most part is by the internal laryngeal nerve. Now coming to the special sensation, okay. Special sensation, the anterior 2/3, the special sensation is carried by the chorda tympani nerve, which is a branch of facial nerve. Okay, the taste sensation from the anterior 2/3 is carried by the chorda tympani nerve, a branch of facial nerve. Regarding the posterior 1/3, it is very simple. It is the same as the general sensation. The glossopharyngeal nerve carries a special sensation of taste as well. Regarding the posterior most part, it is also very simple. It is the internal laryngeal nerve that carries both the general and special sensation. Okay, and important part is, see in this picture, here we have the sulcus terminalis and here we have the circumvallate papilla. Yes or no? In front of the sulcus terminalis, which is considered in front of the sulcus terminalis, it is considered as the anterior part of the tongue. Yes or no? But, okay, the circumvallate papilla, look in the picture, the circumvallate papilla is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. So, we can say that the general sensation from the anterior two-third of the tongue is carried by the lingual nerve except for the circumvallate papilla. Okay? The general sensation for the anterior two-thirds is carried by the lingual nerve except for the circumvallate papilla, which is whose general sensation as well as the special sensation is carried out by the glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay? We will all see why. The one question not to be asked in anatomy is why, but we will ask. Okay? It is because of the embryology. Okay? The anterior two-thirds of the tongue is developed mostly from the first pharyngeal arch. You can see the two lingual swellings here and the tuberculum impar here, which is formed by the first pharyngeal arch, the anterior end of the first pharyngeal arch. The first pharyngeal arch's nerve is mandibular nerve, and that is why the anterior two-third of the tongue's general sensation is by lingual nerve, which is a branch of mandibular nerve. Regarding the posterior third of the tongue and the posteriormost part of the tongue, it is derived from the second, third and fourth pharyngeal arches. Okay, the second, third and fourth pharyngeal arches. So, we have the formation of hypobranchial eminence or the copula of His, which is otherwise called as the copula of His. Hypobranchial eminence formation from the second, third and fourth pharyngeal arches. So, the hypobranchial eminence itself is divided into a cranial part and a caudal part. Okay? What happens is the part of the hypobranchial eminence that develops from the third arch overtakes that of the second arch and fuses with the anterior third of the tongue in a V-shaped manner, resulting in the formation of sulcus terminalis. Do you get it? Okay. We have the hypobranchial eminence from the second, third and fourth pharyngeal arches. It is further divided into a cranial part whose development is from the second and third arches, and the caudal part whose development is from the fourth arch. We will not worry about the caudal part now. We will see about the cranial part now. Okay, what happens is, in the cranial part, the part from the third pharyngeal arch overtakes that of the second arch and comes to fuse with the anterior two-third of the tongue in a V-shaped manner, okay, resulting in the formation of sulcus terminalis. Now tell me, which will be predominant? The third arch will be predominant in the posteriormost part of the tongue. Okay, this is the posteriormost part of the tongue, and which will be contributing to the posteriormost part of the tongue, the third arch. And what is the nerve of the third arch? The glossopharyngeal nerve. So, the general sensation from the posterior third of the tongue is by the glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay, and coming to the caudal part of the hypobranchial eminence. Okay, whose development is from the fourth arch. Okay, the fourth arch, part of it forms the hypobranchial eminence, and the fourth arch, the rest forms the epiglottis, that we'll see later. Don't confuse it with this. So, the caudal part of the hypobranchial eminence forms the posterior most part of the tongue. Now tell me, what is the nerve of the fourth arch? It is the vagus nerve. So the general sensation from the posteriormost part of the tongue is carried by the internal laryngeal nerve. Okay, internal laryngeal nerve. Now do you get it? Why the anterior two-thirds has sensory supply of lingual nerve, the posterior one-third has a supply of glossopharyngeal nerve, and the posterior most part has a supply of vagus nerve. Now we'll have an idea. So this is another picture describing in detail, okay, about the special sensation. So the nucleus for the special sensation is nucleus tractus solitarius. Here the special sensation is taste, and the nucleus for the taste is nucleus tractus solitarius. So the taste sensation from the anterior two-third of the tongue is carried by the chorda tympani nerve, a branch of facial nerve, except for the circumvallate papilla, as you can see clearly in this picture. Okay, the anterior two-third of the tongue except for the circumvallate papilla. Okay, the posterior one-third of the tongue including the circumvallate papilla, the taste sensation is carried by the glossopharyngeal nerve, and the posterior most part of the tongue, the taste sensation is carried by the internal laryngeal nerve, a branch of vagus nerve. Okay, now coming back to the question, sensory supply to the tongue is by all except, okay, the lingual nerve for the anterior two-third, glossopharyngeal nerve for the posterior one-third, and vagus nerve for the posterior most part of the tongue. All carries the sensation from the tongue. So the answer is none of the above is the answer. Okay, so what does so today's question is, sorry, what, it is what. Okay, I said that the internal laryngeal nerve, a branch of vagus, a branch of superior laryngeal nerve. Okay, superior laryngeal nerve is a branch of vagus. It further divides into internal and external laryngeal nerve. We saw that internal laryngeal nerve, okay, carries general sensation as well as special sensation from the posteriormost part of the tongue. What does the external laryngeal nerve do? Okay, please comment in the comment section. Okay guys, thank you so much. We'll see another interesting question in the next session. Thank you.